Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today it's peach season and we haven't done a lot with peaches this year. We haven't really had all that many peaches because I do not grow them and we've been really trying to get through all the stuff I grow. Today we're going to be making a soft poppy and peach granola cake from Vivian Howard's first cookbook, Deep Run Roots. So I've got everything for this first part ready here. I have cut my peaches. She says you don't have to take the skins off, but my family, besides me, doesn't really like the skins on peaches, so we did. We've done that before, shown you how to, score it and boil it briefly and then peel. So if I can find that, I'll link that up there. But I've done that and cut them into approximately 1/2 inch dice. They're a little big, but the peach I started with was pretty big, so, and I didn't really care all that much, honestly. So those are my peaches. To this, we're going to add some light brown sugar, a little bit of nutmeg. I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to that's plenty. And half of vanilla bean. So what we're going to do is put our small knife in the middle. So we split it, and now we're going to scrape the actual beans. I think I didn't. My knife is not the sharpest one I have, but that's all right. We're going to scrape, open it up, and scrape the vanilla beans out, and put these and the vanilla pod itself in here. Try to get as many of those in there as we can. And I'm going to stir this up so the sugar gets all over the peaches, and it's going to make the peaches release juice. They're going to macerate for at least 3 hours and up to overnight. So, but she says to just leave these at room temperature, but cover them. I'm going to throw mine in the microwave because I don't think we're going to use it, and that will keep any stuff from falling on it or any bugs from getting in it. So there is another thing we need to do, but we'll have to set all that up and do that over at the stove. So we'll see you when we're all ready for that. My peaches have been sitting for 3 hours now, and it is kind of late, but we needed those to have sat for a while before we do this. So now we are basically making oatmeal. I'm bringing some water up to a boil here. I'm going to add a little bit of salt because even in sweet things, a little bit of salt is nice to have. We're going to cook this on medium, but I'm turning the heat up a little bit just to bring it to a boil first. And once that comes to a boil, I'm going to add some old-fashioned oats. She calls them rolled oats, I believe. It's the same thing. You don't want the instant oats for this recipe. You want an old-fashioned or rolled oats. Probably not steel cut. That would probably not be quite right. It's at about a medium high. I'm going to call this good. There we go. And now I'm going to turn it down to medium now that it's sort of back up to a boil. Once I put the oats in there. All right, so we're going to cook it for 10 minutes, stirring frequently. So I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. There we go. And we're just going to let this cook. We do need, our timer's about to go off for the oats to have been cooking by themselves. And I do need to take out the vanilla bean pod before this next step. It's already pretty thick, but we're going to be adding a little more liquid with the peaches and some other things. I turned the heat down just a tiny bit. So now we're just going to add all of this into our pot. Stir that up. And cook it for another 2 minutes. Okay, that was 2 minutes. Didn't even really come back up to a boil, but it's already pretty thick. So now we're going to take it off of the heat. And we're going to add some other ingredients. We have some sliced almonds. That is what she calls for. Now, these are supposed to be sunflower seeds, but we can pretend that I didn't completely miss that ingredient when I was trying to get everything ready for this. I just like pumpkin seeds. That's it. So we're going to add pumpkin seeds instead of sunflower seeds because I had those. Poppy seeds, of course, because it is a poppy and peach granola cake. And also some flax seeds, which this was the hardest thing for me to find. It's easy to find flax meal or ground flax seeds, but these are whole flax seeds. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and stir these in a bit, but I do have to add, I am substituting, she calls for almond milk in this, and I was not going to buy a container of almond milk when I know we won't use it, so I'm just using regular milk. So, which will be fine. Use whatever milk you like. Oh, and there's one other thing. Coconut oil. So I'm going to kind of guesstimate the measurement on this. If it doesn't measure very well, that's good enough. And I'm going to try to get all of that out of the spoon as well as I can. There we go. And just stir this up, and you need to let this sit for at least 10 minutes to cool off a bit, but it can sit in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. So we are going to put ours in the refrigerator. I'm going to put it in a container, put it in the refrigerator, and we will bake it tomorrow. And she says this will become quite thick and gluey, just, you know, cooling off and getting ready to bake. So the flax seeds and the chia seeds will sort of absorb any moisture there is in there. And yeah, we will see what this looks like in the morning when we're ready to bake it. Our oatmeal has been in the refrigerator overnight, and we're ready to bake it, and the rest is really, really simple. I've got some more coconut oil that I'm going to use to, I'm not going to measure it. There is a measurement. I'm not going to measure it, but I'm going to use this to basically grease our pan. I'm using a cast iron skillet, 12-inch. She says you could also use a 9x13 pan. I think we're going for something relatively thin. Like, this is not going to be a thick cake. This is a thin cake. It's also not very sweet. I think my family is a little unhappy with this. I'm like, this is more of a breakfast cake, and I didn't make that known. So this is slightly sweet, oatmeal-y, not thick, pillowy, desserty cake. So it's going to be a little bit like granola, especially because it looks like from the picture, it is cooked pretty brown. So you can see this is really thick, but we're going to just dump it all in. And I don't know if I accidentally said chia seeds yesterday, but it's not chia seeds, it's poppy seeds and flax seeds. Chia seeds would be a little different. They sort of absorb moisture and make it a little bit gluey. Anyway, so I'm gonna spread this out in as even layer as I can. And it's not gonna rise, so we don't have to really worry about that. There's no eggs, there's no leaveners. It's like granola, like oatmeal, kind of like baked oatmeal, but although when I make baked oatmeal, that usually has eggs in it. Anyway, we'll see what we think. This is all ready to go into our 350-degree oven for an hour and 15 minutes. So we will show you what it looks like after an hour and 15 minutes and let you know what we think in just a minute. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make soft poppy and peach granola cake from Vivian Howard's Deep Run Roots cookbook. I feel like my family felt lied to. I knew this was a breakfast cake. I knew this was not going to be a sweet peach cake. I knew this was going to be basically almost like a baked oatmeal, but they were expecting a peach cake. And they have some unrealistic expectations after the other peach cake in this book. I'll link that up there, which takes for absolute ever to make, but is totally worth it if you have somebody to impress who loves peaches. You should go make that cake. But this is just something that you'll have for breakfast. Or as a very light, unsweet dessert, maybe. We topped it with a little bit of plain yogurt with honey, and that's how we ate it. But it was not very sweet. It is not light. It is kind of like oatmeal, granola. I think one thing I would do differently, I don't think the cast iron pan does much for it, and it made it really hard for me to clean because a lot of the oatmeal stuff on the very, very edges that got very crispy was hard to get off. My cast iron is maybe not as seasoned as it could be, and I don't do like eggs or anything in it because I can't. It's not that non-stick. So maybe if yours is better than mine, I think I would just do it in a regular baking pan next time. But it was good. But it was nobody's favorite. And the flax seeds do kind of get stuck in your teeth, which I did not enjoy. But it was tasty. And if you have a bunch of peaches and want to make a breakfast cake that's not really cakey, this is for you. Probably not for us, though. If you've enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this with your friends, and come back and watch me make something else next week.